Okay, now we're doing our discussion part of 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Chapter 19. So this is our discussion part. What I kind of was writing down too, I had some thoughts when Matt was talking. And so I'm a physical therapist by trade. I have a lot of, between me and Jackie and Lauren and my girls and a lot of their girls, we have a lot of therapy staff on our team. And something that we have had to learn is this constant assessing of where you're taking the patient. You know, we come in with, okay, our goal today is X, Y, and Z. And depending on what they've been through, what happened emotionally with them, what the doctor may have told them, where they're at in their personal life, if they're coming into you as an outpatient and they've just lived life for the last week, and whatever has happened, our goal may not happen that day. We're having to reassess and maybe go a different route. And, you know, it's just based on so many things. And all the mask wearing at work right now is very hindering to this, because I can only see I don't like that they can only see half of my face, because then they don't know. They don't see me like trying to joke with them, because I'll kind of joke, break the ice, let them see my smile, like, hey, you know, seeing what kind of patient I have. Like, can we joke and can we do that? Is this totally serious? Like, where do we need to go? And I hate that they can't see me. And so I still try to smile in my mask because my eyes change a lot. And obviously everyone's do, but I try to definitely wear like mascara at work, because this is all people see. And now I'm wearing goggles. So literally that's all that they see. And so I want them to have that, see some change in my face. And it's just so important to have that ability to feel out where you're going and where you're taking someone. And so it's just like with our team, and, you know, as a physical therapist of 18 years, I'm learning with my team to gauge where they're at and where do we need to take them. And I have my Melissa on tonight. So our manager has come to us several times with news of, okay, this is what you're going to do now to us as the therapist, OT, PT, speech, whatever. And there's always a lot of resistance. And I will tell you, a lot of it has to do with timing and delivery, but a lot of it is timing, because we're already stressed. We're already dealing with X, Y, and Z situations. We're already dealing with PPE. When this whole COVID thing happened, we are thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to take this home to my children and we're all going to die. We didn't know. We just didn't know. And so we have a lot of fear. We don't know if we're going to be called to work as nurse aides because of what the hospital may need to help take care of the patients. We may not even work as therapists. Well, what other things are we going to do? And then we're being told all of these, like, oh, wait, by the way, you're going to do this. Oh, wait, you're going to do this. Oh, wait, don't document like that because of this reason, which was completely off base. And I was very resistant, very resistant, because it wasn't like we were treated like a team. We weren't treated as I have your best interest in mind. It was definitely a manager peon situation instead of a leader and you're my people situation. So I've said this before, and I think because my experience has just been this manager peon situation so often, that with Plexus, praise the Lord, we get to be leader and my people, and we get to move together. So that's what came to mind when Matt was talking. Oops, I'm sure you guys have something to say. Where are my girls over here?
I was just gonna say that the whole time I was reading, I was like, I felt like a marriage chapter for me, because I am like full blown red. I don't know technically what my husband would be. Who are the information people? Blue people? Green people? So my husband, I think, is probably like full blown green, and I am like full blown red. And so I think all times are the right times. I think when I want to do it is the right time to do it. I think when I want to make it happen, it's obviously the right time. And we've had conflict. Like, I mean, it's so much better now, guys, because I've just learned to yield. But I can remember, like, I had notes like all over of like George, George, George in the chapter of how I'd be like, let's do this. Let's talk to these people. Let's make this thing happen. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I just don't think it's the right timing. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, drive me out of literally my mind. And, or I'd be like, hey, did you talk to so and so? Hey, did you talk to so and so? Like every day for a week. Did you talk to so and so? No, we had a meeting, but just didn't quite feel right. It'll, we'll have an opportunity later. And I'm like dying inside that is he's not just making it happen. And I promise you, consistently for the last 8 years at this point, I'm like, I don't even fight it anymore. I'm like, hey, whenever you think this is a good idea, can you just go for it? Because he has such a strong sense of timing. And he says to me all the time, the right thing at the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. So there's no point in doing it. And then it'll be like some random time and he'll have this like chance occurrence of meeting these people. And then they have the exact conversation that I've been like pushing against a wall for a month, and everything works out perfectly. And I'm just like, it's fine, whatever. So my application is, I wish I could hear you guys, but my application is because of my personality. So I'm red, I'm an Enneagram 8. So like I'm basically a sledgehammer in life. And so my application is I have to use discernment or I will go out of my mind. And my level of frustration, like I was talking with Elizabeth, and with just people, like, why did you even bother ordering? You're not going to take anything. Why are we even doing this? Like, how difficult is this? Like, drives me cray cray. And so I have to use discernment when it comes to reaching out to people. And so I've been really intentional the last couple of weeks in my frustration to like pray for people, the people that are, current but not actually doing anything, and then the people that are potential. And I've had a couple that I felt like they'd be so great. This would be so great for them. But I just was like, not quite feeling it. Like I was tapping into my Holy Spirit, George discernment, like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And kind of hanging back and waiting. And then Taylor, I knew that's why I loved you. We are the same person. I'm an 8-wing 7. So anyway, both of those people reached out to me last week. And I was like, huh, okay. As it turns out, I'm not actually in charge of anything. So I just like, it was such a good chapter, and like honestly made me appreciate my husband a lot. So double development, guys.
So Emily, I want to talk to you from a yellow perspective about the same thing. The leading people when they say they're willing to commit and do the thing, and then they drop off or don't talk or whatever, so you don't know where they are. For a yellow, that literally physically, I was telling Elizabeth this today, I get hurt in my heart. Literally, I hurt in my heart for people who hurt. And I mean, whether they're not taking the product or those who I know would be amazing at this, who, I'm hoping that my Christina is there and she's just keeps saying no to me, right? But like, it literally hurts me in my heart where you get a little upset about it. I'm over here like weeping for them. So it's the same thing. It's a disappointment and the lack of action, because what Rochelle used to say this all the time. They just don't know what we know. And so until they do, they're not going to act the way we act. So just keep that in mind, because that's definitely a learning curve for a yellow whose heart feels ripped open all the time. And I'm sure for a red who's just like, do it. Same behaviors, just different reactions.
I love that you share your, perspective of timing of wanting now to always be the time, because as a yellow and just I'm not the best at confrontation. I tend to have the timing where I'm like, more like your husband, Emily, like now's not the time. Let's wait. That I really took out of this chapter that sometimes the timing is now, that we can't just keep pushing it off. That, in our hearts, I know I have people that I need to say things to. I'm like, maybe it's not the time. Maybe I should, build the relationship a little bit more, discuss this over here, when really we need to be brave and put on our bold pants and say the things, because then, it creates that momentum. People sometimes want us to say the things, and that's why we're the leaders, because we need to say the things, even if it's hard, and create the timing sometimes, not just always wait for the timing to happen.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose an opportunity that's there, and sometimes that falls into the category of stepping out of our comfort zones, right? Like, let's just call it timing, but you really don't want to, like you say, put your bold pants on and say what you need to say, right? You don't want to put your red hat on, but you don't want the opportunity to slip by, meaning you don't talk to people about the business opportunity. Next thing you know, they done started to sell Unique or LuLaRoe or something else over here, and you're going, oh my gosh, So there you go. But I had a couple things since I'm talking that I wrote down, and what stood out to me was how, just talking about what I just was saying, like the way that the mayor handled Katrina. He said in here, this was like the worst leadership timing ever. And he said that the animal shelter, they handled that way better than evacuating the people. That's pretty bad. So we don't want to have that kind of stuff. And then also another thing that he said was timing is often the difference between success and failure. So that stood out to me. The right time and the right leader equals incredible things. And then page 241, I wanted to just say this too. He says leaders from both, this was when he was talking about the Civil War and the Confederates and the Union Army, and he said leaders from both sides had known what to do to achieve victory, but they failed to follow through at the critical moment.
Okay.
Reading a situation and knowing what to do are not enough to make you succeed in leadership. If you want your organization, department, or team to move forward, you must pay attention to timing. Only the right action at the right time will bring success. And
That's right.
we already kind of said that in a roundabout way, but I just loved how he worded that.
We talk about this a lot. And anybody who's coaches me knows we talk about this a lot. I think part of the timing factor is, it's learning the art of truly listening. It's learning to listen to truly understand versus listening to respond. Reds, we tend to be the problem solvers. We want to solve every problem and get back to work. And I think if you don't take time to pause and really listen to understand, you're going to miss the timing indicator as to whether or not it's the right time. And maybe you call that discernment. I don't know. That's something I've had to really work on and learn over the years was, just kind of shut up. Tell my own brain to shut up and just listen. And then it's amazing if you do that, because once you get really good at that, you'll hear what they really need to know to get past whatever the obstacle or issue is. And then you'll be able to say the right thing at the right time to get the right result. And again, that comes from just listening.
100%. And that would be our example. Elizabeth, you had posted a couple questions in your post to help us to kind of think about what we wanted to talk about tonight. And that is an example that we just had the other night with our son, that he was clearly not in the mood to listen to what we had to say. He only wanted a vent session.
Yep.
And so we're both sitting here, we're listening to him, and he's just going on and on. And here's Matt. Well, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just sitting there quiet. And this is not to make Matt look bad, but this is just talking about what he was just talking about. And so then I did start to say something as well, but then I'm sitting here going, okay, clearly, like in my mind, so Matt's the red, green, and I'm the yellow, blue. And so I finally said to him, I said, Cameron, I said, listen, do you want us to help you with any of this? Or you just like want to vent over here to us? Oh, blah, blah, blah. He was clearly wanting to vent. So I'm like, okay, so there we go. So it was good for Matt to realize that. And
And then he's been asking now, like if somebody is upset, myself or whoever, do you need me to like respond to you, or did you want to just talk to me right now?
That's important for Reds. I'm gonna tell you right now, that right there has been gold, is learn to ask that question before anything. Do you need me to help you with a solution, or you just need somebody to talk to? Because that changes my entire frame of mind.
Right. Yeah. So.
You guys stole that. And I had this in my thought, in my mind. I'm like, I need to mention this. That is something that I've had to start doing with my own, but you know, even before Plexus, like, well, I should say the beginning of Plexus and all this self-development and self-growth really taught me that there are times when I have to ask, wait, do you want advice or do you just want me to listen? I can do either, but it is so instinctive and like just immediate. I just want to like blurt out the solution to them, even though like it's probably not what they want. And so if they don't want it, that's when you get that resistance too, because they're like, I don't want you to solve my problems. I just want a friend, or I just want an ear. And that's really, really hard for Reds to listen to, because it's like, it to us is unproductive. It's like, okay, you're going around in circles. I have a solution for you, but you don't want it. Okay, cool. So then you may just continue with that on on that hamster wheel. And so again, action, you know, but asking is really important. The other thing I wanted to mention too is that timing, just like Emily said, I've learned to pray about it, but don't let it hold you back from actually speaking something that needs to be said. So for example, you know, you have someone that's not responding to you, they're ignoring you, and it's like, Matt has talked about this before. Okay, you know, I've noticed that you know, you really don't want to talk about Plexus right now. Do you want me to just close your file? And say there is a time and a place to just be bold and to speak up, because if you're not getting anywhere with anyone, now is you have to ask yourself, is this a waste of your time? And you're also putting the pressure back on them and the ball in their court. And now they've been called out on their own lack of response or whatever, lack of consistency with the products. So now they're held accountable to that. And not everyone wants to be held accountable, but now you're doing that and now they have to respond. Or they just don't respond and you close their file. So anyway, that was just my 2 cents that I was thinking of, because I will say when I have really made the choice to get bold with people, I pray about it first, but then when I am bold with them, I often get a way more honest response than I've ever gotten before. And so there have been so many times where I come back to Lauren going, oh my gosh, I just did this. It was kind of scary while I was doing it, but I just did this and I feel so much lighter now. And I actually got an unexpected response from them. So hopefully that helps.
I've had this conversation with Melissa a lot because she is very, very yellow. And I'm like, Melissa, you just have to ask them, like, be bold, because when you say it, they know that you're so sweet and you're caring and you're loving and that you only want what's best for them. So they're not going to take it as this like statement. They're going to go, oh, okay, you know, and they're going to take it so differently than someone who is like, all right, you going to sign up or not? Because I need my $25 bonus over here. You know, like it's just so different when you are worried, like, oh, I'm going to say something wrong, you know, than when you're just like, okay, what are you doing? I want to make some money. Like, it's just so different. And at the same time, we have to be confident. So I'm like, Melissa, just borrow my red. It's okay. Just pretend like you're me for like 3 minutes. And then she's like, oh, that worked, you know? So it just really is how we're talking to people too. And definitely like we want to be prayerful and things like that. When I went Emerald, it was not good timing at all. I went Emerald in April. My dad had passed away in March. and I don't even know if I can talk about it. Rochelle said, Fallon said, she goes, she's like, she's all nervous. I wasn't going to talk to you about this. I have to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you about this. I don't know what you want to do. But Fallon said that you can go emerald. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, she's looking at everybody's points. She's seen all of this growth, blah, 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 blah. You can go emerald. And I'm like, okay, well then let's do it. And Rochelle was like, I am not saying that to her. Her dad just died. I'm not saying that to her. So here's Rochelle being mindful of the timing. And I don't even know what got into me. I really think it was just it was an appropriate at the time distraction for me to like not think about the grief, but then it hit me after I went emerald. Okay, somebody else has to talk.
Okay, I'm going to talk for you, my friend, my best friend over there. So that right there is a difference between a red and a yellow, right? So Fallon is over here like, what is Elizabeth doing? She can go emerald this month. And I'm like, I'm not talking to her about that. Exactly right. I'm like, I'm not talking about that to her at all. Well, she's got the highest amount of points that everybody in this chat, she can do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to talk to her. And I don't know how I'm supposed to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. Hello, we were friends. We have a relationship. So there's that part, right? I didn't just go in there and say, Elizabeth, you need to really get to emerald here. Hello, And so anyways, yeah. And then she did. She was like, okay, let's do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm adding you into the chat. And off we went,
Yep.
But it was definitely, and I really do love, it's like you were saying, Taylor, like the circular argument, like, Lord help me. There are so many days where I feel like I'm in a circular argument and I'm just like, oh my gosh, somebody help me. And so this is why it's good to have these colors. And I'm so excited about our next book, which is going to be the color book. But the red and the green in him and the yellow and the blue in me balance. And, it's not always great and perfect. I feel like in the last year, I don't know if it's 2020. I don't know if it's this move to Maryland. I don't know what in the heck it really is. But I'm like, good grief, this has been a bit ridiculous. I mean, we've been married 21 years. I know we don't look a day past 21 over here, but hello, it's been 21 years. And so I have to say, I don't feel as though we have had more conflict in this past year than we've ever had in our entire marriage. And I'm like, is this just because I know all these things? I'm reading all these books and I'm knowing about Enneagrams and colors. Like maybe I just don't want to know about these things. Take me back to my ignorance is bliss days. No, I'm just kidding. But it's really good to have those different colors that you can, think about things differently with, right? Like Nicole and I, we're like super yellow, right? Elizabeth and I, we go to convention, we're super blue. We're hanging out with Lauren and she's the yellow over there. And Tiffany Wilson comes up. So Elizabeth has to get really red with me and Tiffany Wilson is blue. And so, but when we're together, Elizabeth will pull her red out. Look, just get this, put this away. This is what you're getting. And so anyways, we're in the convention line and I'm like, well, should I get this? And like, we're like trying to check out. Like I've already looked at all the things in the store. And so then I see like a squirrel, like an object. And Elizabeth's like, no, takes it out of my hand, puts it away. Tiffany's like, what kind of a blue are you?
The other red standing in line, already ready to go. All bags ready to go. Let's
Lauren,
go. We're in line.
Lauren was like, I'm done shopping. Bye, y'all. But anyways, I don't know. This is not about the color. This is about the law of timing. But anyways.
Well, Lauren understood that. She left.
Lauren understood the law of timing. Bye.
See, she had already mastered it.
Oh my goodness.
This actually does go into timing though. And I was thinking about this as Elizabeth was talking, is that, John Maxwell, The Power of Five, Leading Matters, which is one that I had led way back when. It is re-recorded, by the way, Rochelle. So that in there, I think what my eyes were open to is that the mark of a good leader is that you can act as a chameleon. You can change your color based on whoever you're talking to and talk to them in their color personality. And what does that connect to? It connects to timing, right? So in that moment, what color do you need to speak to them in? And so I think it is important to remember that we have, there are 4 different color personalities, and your timing does matter. And what language, think of the color as a language, and what language you're speaking to them in.
Okay, I have to pop in here because I'm a sciencey nerd person, but a lovey person, so I'm really yellow green. And I can nerd somebody to death when I'm trying to get them enrolled. Elizabeth's laughing. She's seen it happen more times than not, right? And so I've learned that it's important for me to ask them, do you need more information or do you feel ready to get started? So me finding them, or like when I'm prospecting, so to say, a new person, I'm like, okay, are you a give me the facts person or a get me going person? So knowing those things and putting those 2 things together has really helped, because otherwise you give them so much stuff and then they're like overload. Whereas for me, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. But that goes into the timing and the relationship thing too, because if you like if I use my yellow part and they understand my heart, they can be like, okay, you just bored me to death. Let's just go. So if you have that relationship with people and they know your heart's in the right place, it definitely helps down the line. Same thing like when they're going through detox or something too. Us yellows will have a tendency to be like, everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden their subscriptions are off. And you're like, what the heck is going on? You said everything was fine. And they're like, oh yeah, that was really bad on my stomach. I'm pooping all the time and I can't handle it. You never told me that. So you have to learn to ask specific questions. You have to ask, because the yellows would be like, I'm fine. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Asking specific questions of, is your stomach keeping you in the bathroom? Are you sleeping at night? You have to ask them questions that they can't just answer fine. You need to ask them something where they can give you a number, they can give you a quantity. That's where you pull out your green part. You have to have some scientific stuff so you can go back and say, okay, well, 2 weeks ago, when you said you were going to the bathroom fine, and now it's different. So we can look back and see where things are different. So making sure, yeah, Heather, making sure that you're asking things that are quantifiable so that you can help them better.
So that was awesome, Jackie. We call that open-ended fact-finding questions in coaching. And that's important. So I love when I'd start a coaching session and somebody would say, I'd say, how'd it go this week? Anybody who's coaching me, never answer it this way. Oh, it was good. It's fine. Because I'm going to ask you a whole other, Elizabeth's going, no, don't do that. Because I'm going to ask you a whole slew of questions and they're all going to be open-ended and they're all going to be fact-finding questions. It's going to pull out of you what you don't want to tell me because you don't want to hurt my feelings. You're afraid you might let me down. You're afraid that, that you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or that the results you got, you don't want to own the results you got that week because it didn't go, you didn't put in the 100% effort you needed to. So I've learned over time that as a leader, the art of the question is key. You've got to be able to ask those open-ended fact-finding questions of people. And again, balance that with a good, healthy dose of timing, but you got to ask the question.
And some people they do want all the details. Like when I first joined, I wanted all the details. I wanted to know everything. That was my green that came out. And now I don't have time to be green anymore. But I wanted all the details. And I was like, all right, Fallon, what's up? Because I knew that she was a big researcher. And so I trusted her and I point me in these directions. What about this? What about this? What about this? Like I had all my questions, right? So certain people do want them. A lot of people don't. Definitely, you've got to talk their love language. And so I know for me too, I like to leave a lot of voice messages to people because I am usually one-handed with the baby. I'm mopping the bathroom floor. Like I am not just sitting around typing on my phone. Like I have got to talk. Jackie, don't even say one word because I already know. Yeah, I can see you in my peripheral vision laughing over there. But, I will say to my people, like, hey, I hope it's okay that I'm leaving you a voice message. I'm holding the baby right now, you know, whatever. And then they'll come back and say, oh yeah, it's totally fine that you're leaving me voice messages. I will tell you, like 99.9% of the people all say, oh, it's totally fine. I think I've had one person who was like a level 2 that was like, no, she was a level 3. She was like, yeah, I can't do voice messages, you know, whatever. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta remember this one person doesn't like voice messages. Let me type these things out, you know, because just because it's efficient for me that doesn't mean it's effective for them. So we want to, you know, try to be effective for our people. But yeah, so that's another thing that you can do with people. And, you know, you just try not to talk so long. It's kind of like when you make your posts, you don't want to like have to keep scrolling on Facebook. You know, you just want to have the one frame that you can get what you need in the one frame. So it's kind of like try to just do 1 minute. And then there are going to be times, like I know in our leaders chat and our jewel chat, stuff like that, like if we're talking about something or whatever, like we're going to have to leave a lot of messages. Lord help us on those days where I pop in, I'm like 99 messages, holy cow, there's a lot going on. But it's okay because it's still going to be faster than getting on the phone, right? That's what Nicole and I say with each other. So yeah. Exactly. And typing bullets.
You know, the red me wants to say something.
I do the same thing in, like, I just left some messages in the book club chat the other day, right? I'm like, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I typed it on. Like, I know some of you guys are working. These are the bullet points. And I just went boop, boop, boop. That way, in case, you know, people don't have time to listen right then or there, the bullet points are there for them, you know? So that is another definitely good thing too. Exactly. Your brain counts the minutes. I know, Jackie. And I know as much as I like to leave voice messages too, sometimes if I open it up and I see, you know, 10 minutes worth of voice messages, I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, let me go like do the laundry or something so I can listen to all of these, you know.
Multitask.
Yeah.
It's a fallacy, but it works.
All right. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Otherwise, we will. Look at that. 10:02, you guys. That's good timing for a book club. Talking about timing. All right. Nicole, go ahead and stop our recording. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on. So glad.